So let's see, we have mostly East Coast with a little West Coast mixed in. We have California and Florida, and we have the Midwest added in there. We've got St. Louis, we got Oklahoma. Oh, I feel a song coming on. But I'll back off of that. We've got the coast of North Carolina, and then we've got the middle of North Carolina. Then we're up in Maryland, and then we're in New York City, and we've got Texas represented right there in Dallas, Fort Worth area. And then we've got Mary down in South Carolina, and Carrie's out in Portland, and Christy's in Atlanta. So we've got all kinds of folks from all kinds of places. So we're bringing everybody over to get started. Carrie is trying to get YouTube to be functional, and she's the host, and I'm Teepa. And this little program is called Ask Teepa Anything, which means I could get asked anything. But before you ask me anything, I thought I'd share one thing with you as we start our evening, because, you know, I'm just feeling maybe some people might benefit from like 10-minute stress timers, because it seems a little stressful out there. So one, sit quietly in calm surroundings with pleasant scents. Consider aromatherapy. Breathe deeply. Soak yourself in a warm bath. Not with Clorox. That's really something else. Clorox is being used to clean surfaces, not to clean people's skin. So don't do that. You could read something that inspires you or meets a spiritual need, or read a chapter. You can set the timer for 10 minutes. You don't get carried away. You might want to watch some classic comedians, maybe Candid Camera, Funniest Home Video. Look at a kid or animal photos. Some are pretty funny. Do some stretching, especially rotational and front to back and side to side stretches, especially as everybody's working at home sometimes or working at work. Beanbag heat therapy, remember the good times, favorite hobby. As you can see, we have a list of things we could do. The challenge I think everybody's having is to remember to do them, rather than getting swept up in the sense of crisis. So, you know, we'll start it off with just some breathing in, but more importantly, blowing out, letting it go. So, try it again. Good. Now, whatever surface you breathed on, you want to wipe off with a clean wipe. But, you know, for right now, I think we're good. That's one of the reasons we do these virtually, so that we don't have to worry about each other's putting germs on each other unless some of us are together, and some of you are going to be together. We're sheltering together. My husband's in the other room, but that's so he doesn't have to sit here with me right now. Right. So I'm done with my little piece, so I will come back and be available to help as I can. So.
Okay, so I think we can start with a first question that seems to be the theme.
Oh, I love themes. I'm not going to like this theme, I've got a feeling.
One of our questions that just came in from Lori Ball is supporting caregivers from afar, providing tips and strategies to their caregivers online. What kind of things would you suggest that caregivers do with the person that they are supporting with dementia during this period of isolation to keep them busy and pass the time while also managing potential risk?
Okay, so it is important that we fill a day, but we don't want to overfill the day. And what's really important, go ahead and do this with your hand if you're watching me. We want to have wave-like motions, and we want them to be a smooth middle of the road. Not let's do it. No, don't do it. Do it. Stop doing it. So what we want are transitions that go from active to still for a while, to active to passive for a while, to active, so that there's a rhythm to it. Now, how long one spends in this curve versus this curve is somewhat dependent on the type and a degree of involvement somebody has. But here's the pattern that's really important. Take your 4 fingers, not your thumb, because we're going to save that one for something special. It turns out there's 4 kinds of activities that humans engage in that are really good for them, but we want to balance them. And so there's 4 of things people do need to do in a 24-hour period to be well. The number one that everybody needs is to feel like I have value and purpose for being in this world. I've got to have a value. If I have no value, why should I be here? So it can be, could you help me? Hey, Rachel, could you help me for a second?
Sure, what can I do?
Here's what I'm wondering. Would you do me a big favor? I'm trying to figure out exactly how many colors, somebody asked me, how many colors are on this file? I got it from Poland. And I'm just curious, how many colors do you see? Which ones?
There are bunches of colors. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
Wow.
And then there's 10? The stuff in there.
Wow. You are really good at this. Okay, let me double check. So you say 10. So
I'm not hearing you.
Oh, what color did you notice first, Rachel?
Oh. The bright one or maybe the blue? Probably the bright orange one.
The bright orange one. So bright orange was one of the colors you came up with. And then which blues did you notice first?
The blue. I like the blue.
The light blue or the dark blue?
The dark blue.
Oh, dark blue, like a navy blue, the darker color?
Yeah, I like that color.
Cool. Okay, and then what about right next, what else did you notice?
Well, then there's the pink one.
Okay, so that's the pink.
And then there's a light one.
Okay, cool. So Rachel started off, the very first thing I offered her, something to give her value and purpose. Could you help me? Could you help me identify how many colors are on here? And it could be a very simple thing. Somebody doesn't have to move to do any of that. Even if they got it wrong, I don't know that it really matters. If they were curious about counting them, I could actually hold my finger up to each one that I noticed and have them count them with me. Now what I've done is I've turned that into a cognitive wellness activity. And that's the second kind of activity that humans engage in. We got to take care of ourselves. So we've got to do physical and mental things that keep us well. So it's called physical fitness and mental fitness. And they're like exercises or activities you do to keep you well. They include things like exercise, but they also include things like going to the bathroom, brushing your teeth, washing your body, cleaning your mouth out, drinking fluids, eating food, and then getting rid of the extra, called elimination. So humans do that on a regular basis because if we don't do that, we don't stay well. And so every part of every day needs to be spent engaged in doing things that keep us well. And people think about ADLs, but we tend to forget that keeping your brain and your body moving is essential to wellness. Humans aren't meant to be a sedentary creature. So getting your brain to activate, getting your body to activate in a rhythm pattern is important. And we want to make sure when we're working with somebody with dementia that what I'm asking them to do matches their ability set. Because otherwise they get frustrated, I get frustrated, it doesn't work well. So the third thing that we're going to do every day, whoops, I get so used to these 3 fingers, these 3. The third thing we want to do is make sure every day we do something that's fun. Because it turns out that humans must have a chemical rush every day of pleasure. If I don't find pleasure in a day, I start to die. And it's called failure to thrive syndrome. So every day I've got to do something that gives me that sense of, oh yeah. And what it means is I'm releasing endorphins, dopamines, serotonin, oxytocin. I'm having a good time and it isn't stressful. It's powerful. And so laughter or humor, but having fun, doing something that's, you do it just because it's fun, not because there's some huge value in it. It's just fun. And then finally, the thing that we all need, and this is a time when this can get really tough, is we've got to rest and restore ourselves. And there's sleep, but there's something else in addition to rest and restoration, which this may get to be where we're having challenges. Because for some of us who are more extroverted, we've got to be with people. You've got to get with people to be restored. You got to chat with people. You got to look at people. You got to touch people. Whereas really strong introvert type people need alone time. They've got to get off by themselves and not have to pay attention to anything except themselves or what they want to focus on. And so the idea of meditation or time alone. But if I'm a care partner, sometimes hard to find that time. But if I'm a person living with dementia and my care partner is nervous and anxious, it's hard for me to find my alone time. So this is where when we're different people, there's not always a really nice smooth rhythm. So finding these kind of things that we can do and do, we do have some videos on that, and we have some friends who are also creating videos. One of the really cool things is music is one of those things that really is powerful. And it can take energy down, it can bring energy up, it can provide some moments of joy, it can provide connections, it can cause your brain to activate, and we'll be putting more and more of those little videos up in there. Here's what we don't want. We don't want a lot of time where people are just waiting around and they don't know what to do. Or when one person's time, I don't have any, and the other person's time, well, I have nothing to do, because that's a real mismatch. And we tend to have conflict because I will either start calling out or wanting you for stuff that it's not really a need, it's just I'm bored. Or I start finding my own things to do because you're not available and I have time on my hands. And this is when things can get really interesting because you think, oh, there's no way. And then you go, oh my gosh, what'd she just do? How'd she do that? She found all the money in your wallet and is tearing it into small pieces because, you know, she was bored. Or she emptied all the oatmeal out of the containers into the sink and ran hot water in it because she was bored. Or she decided to go upstairs and take all the plants that you have in the window and repot them. Only all she did was unpot them because she was bored. Or she drifts away and spends time more and more sleeping because she's simply bored. So that's sort of, we got a lot of stuff and we need more things, and we're trying to get more things out as we're realizing, ooh, how hard this is for folks. And I'm working with some people that are living with dementia to help me come up with some of these, because they sometimes are really good resources on things that really engage and interest them. If you haven't seen on our website, we have a little YouTube called Meaningful Activities. And it's about 15 minutes, I think. But it might be helpful if you're looking for some things. There's crossword puzzles, there's songs, there's dancing, there's all kinds of stuff. So that might be helpful. So there we go. That's option number one. So Rachel, you got anything else for me? Because it looks like Carrie's occupied right now.
Okay. So it says there are many care partners currently without access to their loved ones due to Corona. As the days go by, the facilities where our loved ones lived are responding to the events as they unfold, and everything's changing. How do we help ease the mind of those struggling with dementia when they sense the distress and don't fully comprehend what's happening, and they are not able to remember from day to day? Yeah. This person's mom is saying that she's locked in, they won't let her leave, and it's causing a lot of distress. She said she's being well cared for, but I don't know what to say to her on the phone to help.
Okay. All right. So, Beth, you ready to role play a little bit?
Sure thing.
Cool. So Hello?
Oh, hey, Mom.
Why aren't you coming in?
Oh, Mom. Oh, you're hoping I was coming in, huh?
Yeah, you said you were coming in. Well, you're usually here by now. Why aren't you
Yeah,
here?
I'm usually there exactly this night.
Yes,
Yeah, yeah. So you were wondering why the heck I'm not in there, huh?
you're right. This is crazy. What's going on here? They're all locking us in our rooms and treating us like we're convicts.
Yeah, you're feeling like you're being treated like a convict, huh?
Yeah, they won't let us go out in the place where we sit, and they won't let us go where we eat, and we're supposed to just stay all by ourselves all the time.
Oh, you know what, Mom?
And they
Oh,
stand at the door and they won't let you out.
they stand at the door. You know what? I think I may have an idea. I think it has to do with this bug that's going around.
A bug.
Yeah, so there's a nasty seasonal bug that's going around. I think they may actually be trying to keep us all healthy.
Well, they're keeping me prisoner. They may be keeping you healthy, but this is bullshit.
That is a bunch of crap, isn't it, Mom? I'm sorry, I couldn't swear in front of you, right?
What?
Now, so you feel like you're being kept prisoner. I hear you,
I'll
Mom.
pause for just a second, because what are you finding that Beth is having to do a lot of? Repeat. She's having to use the words I give her because my words are coming from emotion. And until Beth helps me settle my emotion, I can't hear any words she gives me except maybe a single word. And then the word she gives me will set me off again with new emotions if I'm in that place of being distressed. And it's simply that my brain is quick enough to pick on something in right, something like it should be. People are acting weird. People aren't letting me go places that I usually go. People aren't letting me do things I usually do. I have dementia. I'm not stupid. And so it's making me very uncomfortable that people aren't sure how to deal with this. And they haven't really done a good job of training people on how to respond, not react to this thing in communities and facilities. And folks are worried. They don't want people being next to people, touching other people. But if that's what I've done routinely, then all of a sudden all these changes feel like containment and feel like imprisonment. And in someone who's in an emerald state, I can't hold on to the things they tell me about the how and the why and the where. And all I know is in this moment, I don't like it. I don't like it. I don't want it. I don't understand it. And this is ridiculous. And so what starts to happen is as my distress mounts, the forbidden words pop out, but so does the repeated rhythm. And so the increased frequency of asking the same thing, saying the same thing. And if Beth doesn't do that support, I escalate. And Beth does do the support, I just start to settle. But much as we were doing this, go ahead and rock your hand back and forth. You've got to take the rocking chair from this frequency to this frequency to this frequency. And when you get it there, so keep rocking it because you're not done. What you want to do is do a handoff to something that gives pleasure. Because if you don't make that transition over, what will happen is they'll get low level, but then something will set them back off and they'll go right back up. So on the phone call, what we're going to want to do is Beth has gotten it down a little bit and then it went back up. And what I might have done is looked out of my room and saw the aide standing there because people are keeping an eye on me. Because what do you think I tend to do when I'm bored?
To trouble.
There you go. Catherine's got it. Yep, I move around. And then they won't let me move around because the idea of substitution, not subtraction, is where people tend to put their brains when they're frustrated. So now we want Beth to call with purpose. And so now we're going to try something a little different. So Beth, do you want to try being the mom this time?
If you'd like me to, or you could work on the transition with the ooh. Is
Okay,
also
you want to try
possible to do
that?
that transition.
Okay, if you want to try it.
We'll see how it goes.
So, okay, so I don't understand why they won't let me go sit where I usually sit. John's sitting there and they won't let me go there.
Sitting there, yeah. Oh my gosh, Mom. Yeah, so in the dining room or someplace else?
Well, in the dining room where John's sitting, they said he can sit because he, listen to this, he behaves himself.
They say
well,
he
I
behaves
behave
himself.
myself. What are they talking about?
Well, you know better too, right?
Huh?
You know this too. You behave yourself.
Of course I do. I've never done anything I wasn't supposed to do.
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely,
as
'cause
long
Mom,
as people are nice, but
Yeah.
this is ridiculous.
They got to be nice.
Well,
Hey.
they keep telling me to go back to my room. Go to your room, Teepa. You're not supposed to come out.
Oh, that's got to be so frustrating.
And John's sitting right out there. I can see him.
You can see him. Hey, Mom, you know what?
Yeah.
I'm wondering, I don't know if they know what you can do. I'm not sure that they know what you are good at.
Yeah, well, I'm good at lots of things. You know, I teach.
You taught.
Huh?
You taught for years. You taught me how to teach my own kids.
I mean, yeah, I teach a lot of people.
Yeah.
I mean, I will teach them things if they want to learn things, but half of them are stupid as crap. I don't know if they can learn anything.
Well, and it takes a lot of struggles. And those folks, I'm wondering if you might be able to try something for me. I'm wondering.
Well, they won't let me come out of the room.
They won't let you come out of the room.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if maybe we could get them something from your room.
Well, I can't go anywhere.
You can't go anywhere. Are you in your room or somewhere else?
In my room. I'm trapped in my room. They won't let me out.
They're in your room. Okay. So in your room, Mom, I'm wondering, I thought the last time Olivia and I were there that you had your teaching manuals. Did you have your nurse teaching manuals there?
My teaching manuals.
Take a look at your bookshelf, or is there someplace else?
Bookshelf. Over at the bookshelf?
Yeah, in your room, the bookshelf.
So I'll pause. So what's happened here?
I know the bookshelf is the opposite way as that door in your room.
Uh-huh. So Beth got me looking in another direction, and she gave me a sense of purpose, and she gave me something specific to pay attention to. So is Beth going to get off the phone real soon? What did she used to do in the evenings? Let me remind us, what did Beth used to do in the evenings? Except the coronavirus is here. What did she do in the evenings?
She came to visit.
She came to visit me. So what she's going to be doing is visiting by phone. And what that means is it's a lot more work on Beth's part, because it's much easier to be in the same space with me and visit with me. Now Beth has to remember the layout of my room. She has to remember what's available to me. She'll have to remember what might catch my eye, what kind of things that are present there. And she may, as she figures things out, start to send some things in. And she would want to send them in a way. Can you get it covered there, Carrie? There you go. Almost. There you go. Thanks, Carrie. And what she's going to want to think about doing is putting some things for me. And you'll want to make sure there's things that can be sanitized. But you could take a number of pictures and seal them and send them in, get them laminated. And what you want to do is send some things in that you know I now have. And now I can interact with the things while you're talking about the things. The other thing is to consider Zoom calling, just like we are doing now, and ask whether or not staff can set things up. As a matter of fact, you can Zoom on tablets. So it might be possible to consider ordering a tablet, a simple tablet that you can put Zoom on. And then set it up for a visual regard instead of just a physical regard. All right, so bottom line, it's going to be hard work. Some people are going out and getting where the person is in the nursing home or in the facility and standing outside of the window and interacting with them. I have a little concern about doing that without a careful assessment ahead of time. I would try a Zoom or a FaceTime call or a Skype call to see how the person does with seeing you visually. If they look at you and talk to you on Zoom and then want to know, well, where are you? Are you in the kitchen? Yeah, well, let me come get you. Then what I'm going to say is, if that's confusing to even be on Zoom, having someone outside of the building and then being told you can't go out and be with them is a little risky, because what you might actually do is increase elopement risk, or the desire to try to get and be more distressed that I'm not able to get to you. So it's not that I'm saying no, it's just that I'm saying you want to know the abilities of the person you're considering doing it with. And so I tend to like to start on the conservative side of doing a Zoom call and seeing how that goes before we try a visit outside a window on a phone, where the person simply thinks that you're right there. I don't understand. Well, I can still come out. Why can't I come out? Because that escalation could actually get to a place where they might become physically determined to leave, and might actually cause an altercation between them and staff, who are not to let them out unless you have a strategy for that.
So what you're saying is, maybe in the morning, if I visit at 10 a.m., you seem to understand the concept that I'm just outside the window for a visit and there's a virus. But at 3:30, 4 o'clock, when my brain starts to get tired, some people refer to this as sundowning, I can't understand that. And that's when I'm going to be at more of a risk for the staff members.
Yeah. Or in the evening, when I am the loneliest and I'm having a really hard time understanding why I can't go with you. Why are you doing this to me? And people who are truly at some of the highest risks are people who have recently moved into a location and they haven't really settled into the location. And now there's the social isolation on top and the lack of visitation that's familiar. That can aggravate a situation for sure. And that's where it gets a little risky. And particularly, I think the other situation is when family members are providing significant amounts of care in a community or in a facility, and now they're not part of the care routine and there's no replacement. It's not that someone else is taking that on. It was something that families did, and now they are not able to do that, and the facility is not set up to do it either. And unless arrangements get altered, we have an unmet need, an unmet routine, an unmet habit. That's high risk. So figuring out and talking when that's happening, it's real important to say, so I know you guys are really strapped, but this is a ritual my mom and I have every night, and I'm really concerned about her not having some part of that happen. And being willing to prioritize what are the top 2 things, 3 things that you were doing that you would ask someone else to do. And we're all in the art of negotiation right now. And this is just really beyond anything any of us have experienced, quite honestly. Yeah, Mickey.
My husband is declining quite rapidly, and with the restrictions, because he's in hospice, I'm allowed to see him, but no one else in the family.
Yeah.
So what we've done about the window visitation is I've arranged it with the children that I'm there when they can visit. And there's a bird feeder just outside the window.
Perfect.
So, okay, they've come to fill the bird feeder. Oh, look, there's Jeff.
Nice.
And so he's been able to communicate then. We crank the window open and he's able to communicate through the window. And
aren't you smart?
And it seems to help both of them.
Nice.
He's suffering more with the lack of interaction with the other residents at meal time.
Yeah. And I think one of the sad parts is the system is not really aware of the idea. I mean, they get it, but they don't. That anything beyond 6 feet is public space, and it's actually safe space. And now that they've come up with this thing about, well, the virus can stay alive for 72 hours. Not if you spray it with Clorox. It doesn't. I mean, it can't stay alive when you spray it with Clorox. Clorox is actually, spray it with a spray. It's very effective at killing that virus. So if we stay greater than 6 feet apart, then we have visual regard of one another. And if we do auditory things that we do in community, then it starts to make sense. When we keep people both visually and auditorily isolated, because people don't quite get the difference between limiting touch and limiting contact.
Yeah.
That's when things get messy, and people really don't understand the 3 zones of space. And so when we say no contact, everybody keeps thinking, well, then they have to be isolated. And it's like, physically, we don't want them touching people that might also have the condition or might not, or we don't know. The reality is every caregiver in a community, if it's a dementia care community, more than likely is making physical contact with human beings that they're caring for.
Yeah.
That's just got to happen. There isn't mouth care unless you're near someone's mouth. I mean, if people can do it themselves, terrific. The reality is that's not mostly who folks are caring for. So
I think the physical touch part is very hard on the person, but on the family as well.
Yeah.
They are diminishing so much. A hug has been one of the precious things that's still there. So you put away. Yep. What I did today is I just turned my back to him and let him hug me from behind.
Mm-hmm.
I thought,
yeah.
I will risk that.
Yeah.
Because it's needed.
And one of the things to consider is layering yourself.
Yeah.
And so that you have layer upon layer.
Yeah.
And when you're finished, you remove it inside out.
Yeah.
And you then make sure in your new space you've done the cleaning.
Yeah.
But again, the hugging bodies, it's a choice. I mean, it's an active choice. And we just need to respect that I don't want to put anybody else at risk. So if that's what I'm doing, then you're not going to go and hug a bunch of people in another location.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Teepa, this kind of piggybacks on something that I've seen in the chat. Is shifting that idea to professional care partners who actually have to get into intimate space, especially with transfers and support for basic ADLs. Asking what can they do, because they may not necessarily, they're in a uniform. What suggestions might you make for their safety and the safety, well, both of all parties involved?
Yeah, we're going to do some, Catherine, that's a great thing. And so we're actually going to do some new videos starting tomorrow to try to address some of that. Because there are some practical things we can do, given that supplies are in short demand, and unfortunately they're going to get shorter and more in demand and less available. Some practical things we can do. One of the cool things about PAC and about Positive Approach is that simply by being in supportive stance, you diminish your risk of having somebody immediately cough on you or spit on you, because you can turn your face sideways, not because they're trying to cause harm, but because they're coughing. Looking at having a set of things that you keep in that person's space, so that when you enter and leave that space, you put it on when you go into that space, you take it off when you go out of that space. And so over my uniform, I have cover uniforms that I am using in each person's space, and I am doing my washing in my gloves between rooms. But when I'm in that room, I'm not wearing the clothes, the outer layer of clothes that I have on from space to space. And quite honestly, in most communities that are not already infected with the virus and have not yet tested for virus, people are not gloving and gowning because we do not have an active virus case there yet. And we may not, but we might end up with one. But supplies are in such, right now, acute demand that I think we need to get practical ahead of that to try to reduce the transmission. Because every year flu bugs and neuroviruses and everything else fly around and around communities because of some of the issues with cross-contamination, simply because people living with dementia don't follow the rules. They can't follow the rules. And so we've got to quit asking them to follow rules they can't follow. We've got to create patterns of behavior that minimize but don't eliminate human connections, is the reality of it. So we're doing a few more videos, putting them up real soon, because I think people need some help, because I don't think we're going to have enough supplies to go around. I mean, I'm being really practical here. I just don't think it's going to happen. I think hospitals are going to be using most of what we have, and established cases will be using a lot of what we've got for right now. And it will change over time, but for right now, I think the reality is we're going to be looking at practical ways to reduce risk, not risk-free environments. All right, Carrie, what do we got?
Okay, I think we have somebody's hand up. Mindy Brodecki, let's see.
Oh, there you are. Hey, Mindy, it's you. Oh, you can talk. Good job.
And so my mom has a question, but she wants me to ask it. So my dad has.
How often? Hang on. How often do moms let kids talk for them? I mean, that's not that common. I want to commend you there, Mindy's mom, for letting her say what you want her to say. And hopefully she does it right, or we'll have to adjust.
I know, I always make mistakes. We'll get over it, right? But my dad has always worked very hard, and now that he's been retired for a few years, he's at the stage where he's getting up and he's wanting to go to work. And so, or in the evening, he's very adamant about wanting to go to work. And he's not a swearer. He doesn't get irritated, but he doesn't get violent. But he does get up at 3 o'clock in the morning and set off their alarm the other day. And my mom, is a caretaker. I'm 15 minutes away when there's emergencies, but I don't have this, I can't stay. So we were just trying to figure out, what can we do to help redirect him when this happens? Because he gets very stuck, and they tend to get into a push-pull where
she's frustrated too.
Mitigate.
So one of the challenges that is unspoken and yet very real is the 3 a.m. phenomena. Your mom's in a decent sleep cycle at that time, and your dad popped out of his sleep cycle. So we have a real mismatch in sleep patterns right now. And that's triggering the start of the distress between the two of them. Because when dad wakes up, he doesn't realize all he was supposed to do is go into light sleep state and then drop back down into deep sleep state. And instead his brain goes, daytime, time to get to work. And because it is going from sleep to awake, his brain says, okay, alarm's up, let's go. And so the reality is we probably can't do much to fix that alarm clock that goes off for him right now. We can look and see, are there things that you're doing that would be helpful for sleep hygiene? But from where he is in dementia, it is not uncommon for there to be this wake up phenomena. Because it's hard for people to stay asleep during that sleep state in and out thing that they should be doing. Your mom, unfortunately, really needs her sleep. Because she doesn't get that sleep, she gets really grouchy because she's a normal individual. And quite frankly, she's the one that's thinking about squaring, not your dad. So it's a real bad match at 3 a.m. And so I'm just going to say right off, Mom, your idea that you can make your brain behave itself at 3 a.m. and think is probably asking a whole lot of it, but we could certainly try a couple things to see. So he gets up. What we may want to do, does he still read at all?
Not really.
Not really.
No, but the thing is, he got up, got dressed, went and opened the door and set the house, and the she's still there? Yeah. The alarm company called, and he picked the phone and said, everything is fine. That's when I got out there and grabbed it and said, no, it's not fine.
Oh, so you grabbed the phone away from him, eh?
I
How'd that go? So let's pause for a second. And so let's think, let's go back to that situation, because it was a one-off, but it may not be a one-off. I've got a feeling this is a pattern, going to be a pattern here, because he's bored. And he wants something to do, but he's having a harder and harder time figuring out how to fill his time. And so for him, his brain says, if I could just get to work, I would feel normal. The problem is I'm not where I feel normal. Work is where I feel normal. And he always felt purposeful and valuable and competent when he was at work. So what we'll want to say is something like, if you can get your brain to do it. Oh, so you were going to go to work. Oh God, I did not, you know what? I think they canceled that meeting for this morning.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God, did I not tell you that? I am so sorry. Let me look, let me double check, because I don't think you need to go in this early. Tell you what, let me do a phone call real quick and check and see if they're expecting you this early.
I've done that.
You know, what happens when you first wake up though? Is that your first thought? Let me be cooperative and let me be creative and let me think this through?
No, I couldn't a password.
So when you told him it wasn't okay and you had to come up with a password, you couldn't come up with that, huh? So what I would say to you is, what I'm hearing he needs is time out of that house. He needs to go out some, because being in is it's both not comfortable, but it also isn't a routine that he's used to. And he's in a part of the disease where his behind him life, not recent life, but behind him life is more powerful and more desirable. So it's sort of, for him, it's the good old days. In the good old days, he knew what to do. In the good old days, he had a job. In the good old days. And so he's looking for the good old days. And he's also looking for the good old place. And he's looking for the good old work. So what kind of things is he still good at doing?
Oh, goodness. You know, he was very good at cars. He grew up, he became an appraiser. But his physical condition is not good. He's in very bad physical shape. And so I used to take him out a lot, but this winter, he's in a lot of pain, you know? So that was the problem. But as the weather gets warmer, I take him in a wheelchair.
So here's a question for you, Mindy's mom. How often does he get something sort of like Tylenol or acetaminophen for his pain?
He gets, in the morning, he gets 2 pills of, it's the 675, but I guess they can only have so many, that's what his doctor, but he's going to a pain management now. And
have you told them about him waking up at 3 a.m.? Because I will tell you, sometimes the thing that triggers the 3 a.m. wake up is discomfort in the joints due to laying and moving. And then when you go moving, it hurts because the pain medication is still not as effective as it was because of the timing. So really maybe looking at the timing of delivery, and maybe that might be helpful.
Yeah, I could ask her. He's having injections because he needs a hip. He's having an injection, and he had one in his spine and his hip this last time.
Yeah. So I would wonder though, when whatever he's taking might be at a low peak versus a high peak.
Okay. Yeah.
And
instead of having
could be
morning. I will ask the doctor.
Ask him about that, because that may help him make it through a bit more of the night, which would be anything that you can do to make your night a longer night is going to be better for both of you.
Right.
Last idea I have is just be on the safe side. I would think when you at night, where are you? Are you in a place where you can put the hood of the car up like it's being looked at?
Not really.
No.
Okay. Because sometimes what I'll do is right outside the door, I'll give a real strong visual cue of something's not right with the car. And so it encourages the person to stay in the immediate area and maybe come back in or try to get back in the house to figure out what's going on.
I feel like he would go out if he saw that, in all honesty.
Yeah, I do too. I do too.
Okay. All right. So that wouldn't be good. So what you might want to think about for safety's sake in the short term is putting a deadbolt up really high with a little curtain that, and make sure the key is not immediately there, but make sure the key is immediately available in case you do exit the house as an emergency.
Right, yeah.
But
the doctor had
off topic though. So I guess the other question was, ideas for things for him to do when they are up during the day, because I think part of it is what you were talking about is boredom. Because he does that zone out, go to sleep thing.
Yeah.
And he still be up and doing things like, making the bed. Sometimes he likes to do the dishes. And my mom tries to stop him because she worries about him physically. But I keep trying to encourage her to let him do things, because if he doesn't, get bored.
So some of the things to have him do is to take cans and put them up in the cabinet for you, standing at the counter, holding on to the counter. And have him stand at the counter, because standing is actually, I'd rather him do a little standing so that if he does get up in the middle of the night and decides to go take care of things, he's in a better body state than if he hasn't moved very much and we're only moving around in the chair and sitting in the chair and walking a little bit. So having him stand up and weight bear with a surface to put his hand on and then to use his arm up above increases both his upright posture, which is better for his back and for his hip, but it's also going to encourage him to weight bear appropriately and reduce the frailty of his bones as long as possible. Because the frailer his bones get, the higher the risk that they'll fracture if he does sit down hard. And so we want to make that happen. Another idea would be right away that I could think of is get a catalog of cars and ask him to take a look at the different cars and tell me what he thinks they're worth. Because I have somebody who's interested in selling cars and they were wanting somebody to look at them and make their best guess on it. And do you have any other family members by any chance? Or is it just you two?
No,
I've got 4 sons, and one of my sons comes over and spends the day with them.
Yeah, so what you might want to think of short term at least is to have them take lots of pictures of the cars that they have in the engine, inside, outside. If you wanted to sell this car, what kind of things would you ask? And even on Zoom or whatever, they could go through the pictures with him and look at him and say, so Grandpa, so this one, what do you think about this one? Because, this one, it seems like it's in good shape. What should I check out on it?
There you go. That's a good idea.
Yeah, that is.
Thank you.
Yeah. And that's even taking a piece of cardstock and printing out pictures of cars and then cutting them up into puzzle pieces and then mixing 2 or 3 together and say, tell you what, see if you can figure out how many cars I laid out here. Sort them apart and see if you can put the cars together.
Yeah, that's a good idea. She's good at that.
I work with kids with autism, so we make a lot of visuals and stuff. So, and I wonder, can I ask just one last question? Using visual supports with people with dementia, is that an effective thing? Because I use them with my students that have autism, but I'm thinking that I should put some things in place, like a stop sign on the door, maybe, things like that.
Okay, so let me just ask you, and you're a smart lady, Mindy, what do you do when you come to a stop sign?
You stop.
And then what do you do?
Oh, and then you go. Yeah, that's true.
Oh, you stop, you look both ways, and then you go? Sure enough. Yeah. So stop signs are probably the least effective thing to do to keep people from, some people will fall for it. Most people who are smart don't. They stop, they pause, they look. You can even watch them do it.
Keep going.
And then they'll just open the door and go on through because they did stop. They can go full stop. So you might think about more of putting a ladies' room door sign on the door that you don't want them to open up.
Oh, that's nice.
You might, sometimes that works for men. You want to put it down near the doorknob so they can see the ladies' room and the lady in the dress, because it's sort of not a room they would typically go in. And a couple of other things to think about is whether or not you have a way that you could record something, and it's usually associated with a getting out of bed thing, where it would say, for instance, you can record it with a message rather than an alarm. And it says, hey, Mindy, you're getting ready to get going. Listen, give me a few minutes. I'll be right there. Could you sit down for just a second? I'll be there as soon as I can. And we classically have used it to help people who like to get up and get going, and yet they need support when they get going, to get them to pause for a second and give the care partner a chance to enter the room and be present. But rather than some buzzing alarm, it's a friendly voice that says, oh, you're getting up. Hang on just a second. I'm coming. Wait for me. I'll be right there.
That's a proximity. Yeah. Gotcha. Okay, I'm going to be looking for that.
So, I don't know whether that would work for this particular situation, but it's a way to get us where we need to be. And it gives you that few minutes to organize yourself rather than hearing the alarm go off at the door and the phone ringing and all that. It lets your brain wake up a little less distressed.
Yes. Yeah. That's good. Idea. Good idea. Yeah.
Sure. Good. Well, thanks for coming on.
Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you. So I have a question that Tanya emailed to us earlier today. Her mother never took anyone's word for it. So how much do you share with the person who has dementia about their condition?
Okay. So my usual is I'll do this one with Catherine. And what I'll do is I'll say, so Catherine, I know people have been talking a lot about how you're doing and your brain and what's going on. Tell me a little bit about what you're feeling or thinking about that.
I'm going to give a timeout.
Okay.
Would this be helpful to be aware or unaware?
Well, let's try it two different ways, because what I want everybody to understand is that people living with dementia don't come in one color or one box. And so what can happen is about half of everybody who's developing dementia have awareness that something's going on, and half of them do not have awareness that anything's going on. Except you're getting mean, people are being awful, you want me to go see some stupid doctor for no good reason. And they can't hold on to the idea that they're changing because they don't think they are, because the
okay, so unaware. Yeah,
unaware. So it's 50-50, so we'll try it unaware first.
Okay, so what are you telling me, Teepa?
Well, I was wondering, that people have been talking some. Yeah,
I've heard them, and they're all being jerks to me. I don't know what's happening to these people that were my friends.
Yeah.
And
so
now
it feels
they are
like
kind of like
they're being picky. So their people are being picky, and you're not seeing it at all.
No, they're telling me things that are not true, that they say I'm doing things, and they are becoming liars.
Okay, so it seems like they're lying to you about what you've done and what you haven't done, and there's nothing, as far as you can tell, they're totally mistaken about any of that.
No, they're they're all just bullshit now, and I'm sorry for that word.
Okay.
They're full of it.
You're sorry to say that, but they're just, okay. So when it comes to like when you're getting around and everything, have you noticed any balance problems or anything like that, or has everything been okay with that?
Well, no, I think it's just that, I think there might have been an earthquake or something, and it made my something went off.
Okay, so it went a little wonky on you. Yeah.
So okay. I get but that's because something happened, and the thing happened, and I'm getting a little unbalanced. But it's not me; it's the floor.
Not you. So when people are saying that that's not what happened, that's not what I remember, it just feels like an argument. Is that pretty much it?
That's what's happening. It's always like a little bit of chat, just a fight where people are
where
fighting
they want to fight with you. It feels like they want to fight with you. Well, I'm sorry
Yeah, and
that's
I always
happening,
was-
Catherine.
Say again. What'd you say?
I am so sorry that's happening. I'm sorry that's happening for you. That's not good.
Well, thank you. It is. It's very. No, it's not. It's very making me feel like it's not good things are happening.
Well, I hate that for you because it feels like you can't be with your friends, don't want to hang out with them so much. Is that?
That is correct. I do not trust people now. That they are they're out. It sounds like they're out to get me.
Okay, so it feels like people are against you, and that never feels good when that happens.
No, I've been taking care of them for the whole time, and now they're telling me that I can't do stuff and that they got to fix it for me.
And
heck no, I don't like that.
That's okay. So I'm going to pause because here's the thing: I'm not going to get Catherine to get it that she has dementia. So, but what I do get is that Catherine's perspective is nobody understands her, respects her, and she doesn't trust him anymore. So the most important thing is a timeout because we've got to quit trying to push the truth on Catherine. People are trying to do it with best heart. I mean, they're trying to get her to get that she's not safe doing this, that this isn't working right, that she could use a little help. But if they keep trying to make her feel like she's less, all they're going to get is somebody who's going to push back on her because she is unable in this moment to take that in and deal with it. And the likelihood, high probability, that part of her brain isn't going to come back and it isn't going to start working. So we've got to work with it as it is, which means we got to let go of the idea she's going to get this. And the people who need to get this is everyone around her. So they're going to have to figure out that the words, I am so sorry, you're absolutely right, I had no right to say that, are the most powerful words in the world. But you have to sound absolutely sincere and authentic and mean it when you say it.
When you say that, I am right. And because know, that's when I've always been in charge and they don't. When you're the one I like.
You're
the one I like.
Yes, ma'am. And I appreciate that because I know that you don't like just anybody.
No, I'm very careful.
Honor. It's an honor to be your friend.
Well, thank you, because you're the smart one.
Well, I don't know that I'm real smart. I just know who to listen to.
Yeah. See, that makes you the smart one.
Yeah. And so I've got to learn to work with what I've got. And it means she has to be right. So I always have to give her a sense of being right. Her being wrong is not going to help us. Pointing out that isn't what happened, that I never said that you had to go to the doctor. Mom, I said that it would be a good idea. Because what we're doing is we're trying to get her to see what she can't see. And it's one of the hardest places to be because we are concerned about safety. But I can get hey, Catherine.
Yep. What do you need?
We're going to go out. And let me just tell you that I thought we would go and get some coffee. Yeah?
Yeah, I like coffee. I like coffee.
You know what, though? I don't have much time, so I'm thinking we'll go through the drive-through.
Well, that is just fine as long as you get the one I like.
Okay. Well, you tell me, would you like it with milk or creamer?
I like the milk. That's it. Whole milk. That's what I like.
And this much or this much?
I like it sort of mocha looking.
Mocha looking. Okay. Well, I'm going to tell him mocha looking. Because she is not a lady that would be easy to manage at this point in time in a public setting, because I'm not going to be able to get her to follow the rules. As soon as I say, hey, Catherine, how about putting gloves on? Well, I don't need gloves.
Well, what the hell are you talking about? That's so dumb. That's dumb.
No. Hey, let me wipe this off. This might have germs on it.
Could you stop bothering with? Just don't bother with my thing. Stop touching my stuff.
Well, then you do it.
Well, I'll do it. I'll do it. Just you stop messing with my thing.
Well, sure. Here you go. And then she'll put it in the trash. My hands are perfectly clean. So working with someone without awareness during times of stress, one of the hardest parts for us is to recognize when we need a timeout. Because when we keep pushing an agenda that's not working, all it does is distress both of us. And Catherine's more of a fighter. She's going to fight back at me a little bit. But if she's more of a flighter, I've got trouble on my hands because now she's going to want to leave, or she'll want me to leave, but she'll want us to separate.
Yeah, you just let me be. I can take care of this all by myself. I have been doing this.
Take care of you. You fell twice yesterday.
I did not fall, and you stopped telling me lies.
Don't tell me now. Who's got dementia here?
You do.
It just feels like my brain isn't working right. And it's not, because I'm flustered because I can see the risk and she can't see the risk for what she's doing, but me trying to point it out isn't going to go anywhere. So it's hard to let it go, but we've just got to let that go a little bit. Yeah, and it's hard. So hopefully that sort of deals with that. We've got to have the group that's aware. Go ahead, Rachel.
I read the comment, and part of the issue is that this lady likes a lot of scientific evidence and the expert. Yes. So it was very much of, do I kind of appeal to the expert, or do I?
So first of all, what I was trying to figure out, in this case, she doesn't have awareness. So if she does not have awareness, no expert in the world is going to convince her. If she has a little awareness and it's proven, then we have a different situation. And so
I think that's what it is, because we've had the car issue, and she likes all the evidence, but she doesn't really decide. But she wants to know what's going on. So I think she knows she has issues. Her second neurologist told her, but she's
So you're looking for, so Rachel, so one of the things that's really hard is if I try to tell you something, I'm not the expert. And so you do want to talk to somebody who's familiar with this stuff and knows what they're talking about. And it's not going to be your daughter, and it's not going to be a regular doctor, and it's not going to be somebody that's not an expert. Is that accurate?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So you want,
Teepa, Teepa, you've been my best friend for since we were little kids.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm a little scared now, because I don't want to tell anybody, but something isn't right.
Something doesn't feel right.
No, it's not working up here. I'm afraid to tell my kids, but I feel like sometimes I'm okay, and then sometimes something is happening that's making me not good.
So sometimes it's okay and sometimes it isn't. But you like to know how things work. You want to know some details of this.
Yeah, but I've always been a really smart person, and I can't figure this out now, and I'm afraid to tell anybody.
So let me ask you something, Catherine. Are you having more trouble coming up with words or understanding when people say words? What have you noticed about yourself?
Well, I think I'm starting to get confused with when people are talking to me and telling me stuff, and I can't quite put it all together, and then I try to think it through, and it's coming too fast for me.
Okay, so what you're noticing is when you try to take in data auditorily, when you take it in through your ears, and you try to put the words together into sentences, that when you try to think about the sentence, you can't think about the sentence because you're getting lost going back to the words.
Yeah, and then they just keep talking, and then I can't. I can't figure it out, and I feel stupid.
And then I feel stupid. And you're feeling stupid. So this is different than it's ever been before.
Yeah, and I find myself sometimes getting a little bit angry, but I just say, because they're I tell them they're being stupid, but it's because I can't
You're frustrated. You're pretty frustrated with things. So I'm curious, this is the kind of thing where many times we would talk about brain change, and the brain change we talk about would be something like a dementia, where your brain is actually changing and the brain cells are changing.
That's what I'm afraid of, Teepa.
That's what you're afraid of. Yeah. Well, I think that might actually possibly be a little bit of what's going on. Yeah, because it's that you're describing things that, as far as your description, it sounds fairly consistent with these kinds of changes.
That's when I can think. That's kind of what I'm thinking, and I'm a little
really
scared.
Smart. Yeah, you're a really smart lady. So I think the evidence and the data that you're giving me supports the idea, unfortunately, that something is changing. And I could lie to you and tell you that's not true, but I don't think that's helpful to you.
No, you've been my best friend for a long time, so I can only I can trust you.
Yeah, and so what I was doing there was helping her find her own evidence. So the evidence is not from someone else. I helped her locate the evidence in herself that she notices something is not right. And we talked about it, we explored it, I gave it some names, I gave it some specifics, some detail, and it came from her, and then I did the hard part of it. Sounds consistent with some brain changes where your brain cells are starting to change. Absolutely, and that's typically called dementia. So it may happen that this person's person does better with someone who's a third party, a friend or a family member, or somebody totally different, who has the ability to help her find her evidence. Because what's different about this is we have to help her figure it out. Us figuring it out for her means she can't trust her own brain. But me helping her sort through what her symptoms are helps her be able to acknowledge to herself, I'm right. And it's like, I think you are. I think you are right. And so she's the expert. Because frankly, the people who are the experts are people living with dementia. The rest of us are bystanders and curious people and really supportive people. But if she does have awareness, she's her own best expert. The people who are living with anosognosia, which is the inability to be aware, they're the folks we're going to have to figure out how to do a workaround, because they can't become aware in most cases, no matter how hard you work at it. There will always be something else that is causing this, because the part of their brain that lets them see it's their own brain is hiding it and being destroyed by the disease early on. And it turns out about 50% of people are in that category. It's not a willfulness, it truly is, and it can be episodic, where they get scared and then they get angry, and they get scared and they get angry because they're unaware, then they're aware for a little bit, then they go back to unaware, and it fluxes, and then more settles in not so aware as a rule for folks. But it's a tough one for sure, but that's sort of some possibilities there. So what else we got going on here?
Okay, we have another hand up. Karen Joyce, can you talk? I got you unmuted, I think. Not yet. Now?
There you are. I see you.
Okay.
Hey, Karen.
I have a question. It's not necessarily dementia related. I do in-home care for seniors.
Okay.
So I get up, get dressed, throw my coat on, and go house to house.
Ooh.
And so, but essential care and have to be there, right. And trying to avoid the huggings. We're doing virtual hugs right now, which most of them understand, but I'm leaving one house.
Yeah.
So house. Can I spray myself down with Lysol?
What do I do here? First rule is you need to basically go through your husband's closet or a significant other's closet, a size or two bigger, and get an over thing you can put on, for sure, on the parts of your body that routinely make contact with things in those people's houses. And what you can do or should do is every house, when you enter, you put a fresh garment on, and when you leave, you remove it in reverse. And in your car, you will want to get a Pullman cooler or something similar, and you're going to want to roll up a whole bunch of washcloths with some water on them and some possibly sanitizer on them of some sort, and you're going to want to do a good wipe down on all the surfaces of you that might have made contact. And then you're going to want to put another layer on when you go into the next house. And at the end of the day, in addition to all the work you've done, you'll have a load of laundry to be done. With very, with some Clorox. So the reason I said go in your husband's closet or go to the thrift store, is you want white shirts that have long sleeves that are button up, and you could either put them on backwards or put them on forwards and button them all the way up.
Okay.
What you're going to want to do is make sure for every household, for every person you're working with, there is a fresh surface that is contacting that person. Because the reality in home care is the reason you're going in there is to do things of value. And you are in their environment, and surfaces are one of the dangerous things in addition to coughs and sneezes and tissues that are around. But any surface is a potential surface for holding on to this virus. And so making sure that you both protected yourself, but protected the next person.
So it's a more assured, or do I need pants also?
What are you doing in the home? I guess I should ask a little bit more.
Showering, laundry.
Definitely whole sets of clothing.
Okay.
I'm sorry. But truly, it's a better strategy for reducing the risk of going place to place, because you're absolutely right. And you may even want to think about, in some situations, could you put socks over your shoes, large socks over your shoes? And if you can get the kinds with the grippies on the bottom, and you take those off from house to house, because that's another surface contact that you just want to start to be thoughtful about. Because one of the reasons you're in home care with people is because they're vulnerable.
Right.
Yeah. And so just being super aware of those things and going from house to house, because it's just the reality of going from space to space. That's just like room to room in a community. It's higher risk for sure.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, and I have all their children and grandchildren in and out too. So it's not like it's just them there.
Nope.
It's a whole slew of people.
You got it. Yeah. And you're in a higher risk category yourself, but for sure going in and out of someone's space to present yourself, I'm going to put these things on so that I've got a fresh layer on.
Right.
And you have them in zip, in bags. Each house has a bag, and you come back out and you put it in a garbage bag on the way back out so that you have them. Yeah. Good question, Karen. I'm glad you're concerned about and caring about your folks. Thanks for doing that hard work, because it's not everybody's doing it. So thank you for doing it.
They're my people. I gotta keep all of them.
Okay. I know you do. Thank you.
Thank you.
I had something to add to that. This is Peg Henry. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Hi. So I just wanted to say, I think it's also really important to reassure our people like you. I visit people in their homes, and to reassure them that I've taken my temperature today. I don't have any symptoms that I don't have any symptoms. I'm being really, really, really careful, and this is how. To reassure them or their family members, whoever would be concerned. I think right off the bat, that's really critical.
I agree. And I think, Peg, as well, we've been recommending for people who are living with dementia for sure, and for people in general, that we actually put our gloves on in front of them so they can see that these gloves haven't touched anybody else, haven't touched anything else before they're going to touch you.
Right. I wash my hands in front of them too.
Yeah, that's a great idea. And if you're a person in a community or in a home or in a facility, a really good friend of mine, Melanie, taught me a trick that apparently her sister taught her. I thought it was Melanie's trick, but it's her sister's trick. She puts a small vase of flowers in front of the sink so she can always say, oh, I'm sorry, let me move those for you so you can wash your hands.
Yeah. Yeah.
So she makes sure there's something in the way of the sink so that she can always cue people to go, that's the first thing I need you to do when you enter this space is wash your hands.
That's great.
Because people don't do it out of a sense of trying to cause harm. It's just not a habit for people yet. I mean, it's getting to be a habit pretty quick, but not everybody's there.
Mm-hmm. I want to add that when my husband had Alzheimer's, to help with the hand washing, I would have him stand at the sink with lots of suds and wash some dishes.
There you go. So we're back to those washing dishes is a good idea, Mom. Just in case you were thinking it wasn't Mindy's mom. Have him wash those dishes. It's good for hygiene too, just so you know. And then you'll have to wash them again.
And then you wash them again, right.
And then usually, and make sure they're rinsed.
Yeah.
My friend used to never put them away rinsed. It's like, oh, okay, you did a great job. Thanks so much. And then I would wait till she went and did something else, and then we'd wash them a second time because they never got rinsed first time.
But it's a really enjoyable activity for most. Yeah.
Yeah. Cool.
Thank you.
Thanks, Peg.
Okay, we have a questions coming in from our social media channel that keeps popping up. Is it better to leave our person in assisted living, skilled nursing facilities, or bring them home?
Oh, that is such an individual question. I think right now, one of the things we want to find out from our community that the person is in is how's staffing going? And I would appreciate a really honest answer because to be quite honest, that is an important feature. We know that staffing might change, does change. And so asking, has staffing changed recently? And also looking in the mirror at yourself and saying, am I prepared to do this? Do I have what I need to be a 24/7 support person? Because quite honestly, in some situations, all you're doing is doubling your risk because one of the reasons for placing someone in that situation was they were a high elopement risk and you had gone as far as you could go to care for them in your space. And there's still a high elopement risk, and being in the community is hard, but you being a solo caregiver, if you don't have supports in place, is probably not a better solution for folks. So there's no absolute, but I do think asking about staffing and any changes in the availability, the numbers of staff, looking at what your person's needs are, and does it appear, asking for folks, if I call in, I would really love to be able to Zoom with my person a little bit. And so asking with the activity folks, the engagement folks, if not the care staff, to make sure that each day you're getting a chance to see your person and maybe see them and talk to them in the morning and see them and talk to them in the evening. So you can get a sense of how they're doing. How are they doing? Does it look like they're doing okay? And is this kind of communication helping? Are they not doing okay? Because there's really not a right answer or a wrong answer. There's good answers for some people that are bad answers for other people. But I think the worst thing we can do is do a knee-jerk versus a thoughtful response. Because this is getting trickier and trickier. And anytime we move someone from a space now to another space, if we aren't sure what they've been exposed to in the previous space, we may be moving them and whatever they've been exposed to into our space. So how well and fit are you? We do have care partners who have their own health issues, sometimes pretty significant health issues. And so exposing yourself to what you're not sure that, it's sort of like having kids in kindergarten. When you first have a kid in kindergarten, you'll find out you get every cold, multiple, I think the estimates are five colds the first year for parents, and it's a rhinovirus or a coronavirus, but not 19, that families get because children are exposed for the first time in a group setting. And they come home symptom-free, but then, oh, they weren't exactly symptom-free. So by the time you figure out they have the symptoms, you actually all have the cold and you pass it around. And so this coronavirus is a lot like a rhinovirus in how well it likes to hide out and hang out and then come out. So that's what makes it so tricky right now. So unfortunately, I don't have a yes or a no. Anybody else want to kick in with another thought?
I also have, Teepa, I also have a thought about if someone had been a primary care partner in the home for a while and then made the difficult choice to move someone into a more, into a community of care, their visits are probably limited to a degree to understand the amount of care their loved one is now needing. So if shifting them back into their home, are they really equipped and capable to handle the changes that they may not even know exist for the real day-to-day, moment-to-moment care?
Because you're right, Catherine. So coming back home, if it's been a while that the person was in community, there may be a new need level, a care level that the person will experience. And it could also be that when they come back home, although for you it's bringing them back home, for the person, I've been abducted and now I'm in another place. Because unfortunately, over time, people's awareness of environments may shift. So that's the whole other side of it, which is from the perspective of the person living with. Is for them, is it now a familiar place? Home is a familiar place, or home isn't home, and now they want to go home. And it's, well, you are home. Nope, I'm not talking about this place. I'm talking about my place. And the place they're talking about may not be either of those places. It might be a historic home, or they may be saying, I'm done with this. I don't like this anymore. I want to go home. Yeah.
And is the care partner equipped to handle the increased needs of basic ADLs, even that they may not know have shifted?
Right.
Because they're no longer a part of that. So they just have their interactions on an emotional,
well, and right now, very practically,
level.
Very practically, do you have the incontinence supplies? Because are they possibly even going to be available? I mean, now we're getting real practical. Like, do you have gloves? Do you have incontinence supplies? Do you have the equipment? Because it could be very difficult to get it right now. I mean, just very practical stuff. Because there are many places where you can't get gloves. I mean, you cannot find them. And you can try to order them, but it can take quite a while to get them, just gloves. And exposing yourself to risk is not going to really make it better for both people. So I don't have a straight answer. It's an impossible decision that we're being asked to make frequently.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
My husband was, he just woke up beginning of February and wasn't able to stand up without leaning back. And he had fallen a couple days before that, and I thought maybe, so I took him to the emergency room. They kept him there for observation. Then they took him to a nursing home for rehab, and he is still not standing very well, but they were about ready to release him.
Yep.
And I was in the midst of talking to them about releasing them when the lockdown happened. So my husband is like, he's been there for a month, not even a month. And we are both just traumatized.
Yeah. Because this came on very suddenly, number one, somewhat out of the blue. I mean, he'd had a fall, but not this kind of thing.
Yeah, and he had more trouble walking since November.
Right.
And I knew something was going on, but I didn't expect,
this kind of shift.
And I've been trying to get him home, and they keep telling me, well, now that there's a lockdown, I can't even, they want me to have a Hoyer lift, and they want me to have equipment. he's on Medicaid, so I should be able to get the equipment. I don't know if I can get the gloves. I imagine I can, but
how much were you involved in his training on mobility?
His training on mobility?
On how to move and how to help him move. How
in the nursing home?
How actively were you involved in learning how to help him move?
I tried, but it was all very new to me, and I couldn't figure out, they had a varied schedule, so I couldn't figure out when I needed to be there. And then I ended up with the flu the last week before before the lockdown. I actually saw him twice before.
So how well are you right now? Physically well? How physically well are you?
Well, the problem is I had prolapse surgery in October of last year.
So straining, you need not to be straining things.
I need not to be putting too much
lifting and straining. Core. Yeah. Do you have other people that would be care providers 24/7 in your location?
Not 24/7, but the Kalos, the insurance company in New York that is in our area, they say that they have aides, but they don't have them for 24 hours. And
yeah, how's he sleeping through the night now?
I know he has trouble at times. He used to always get up and go to the bathroom in the middle of the night.
And he can't do that now. Yeah,
and he won't be able to. I was thinking if I had care from like 5 to 10, and maybe I could sleep during that time. But right now they closed the adult daycare too, so I can't I don't have that time.
You guys are in a miserable place because I can't, in all good conscience, given where you are and given what I know the resource allocation is right now, say it would be great. I mean, emotionally, spiritually.
Well, mentally for him, it'd be better than, because he's not getting much interactions.
Absolutely.
And they're talking about changing his physical therapy, or stopping his physical therapy
because he's plateaued and he wouldn't qualify for Medicare any longer.
Which I just appealed, but I don't know if he'll get it. But the thing is for them to say that when he's got Lewy body and dementia or Parkinson's, it's sort of a death sentence to say he can't have physical therapy.
Yeah.
And keeping him in his room. He is so confused, and he knows that I would do anything for him. And he just looks at me and says, why? What is going on?
So have you guys talked? I mean, I think it's time for a really deep consultation for you. I mean, I think you would benefit from a consultation about what's your game plan, because I think you do need a more in-depth game plan than you have right now, and I'm not sure you're getting that from the folks that you're receiving care from, because it's not just about him, it's about him plus you. And it sounds as though the stressors are quite high, but the reality of the needs he has are quite high. But you being torn apart by recognizing he's not getting some of those needs met in the way that would be better for him to get his needs met, because of this disconnect between where care can be delivered right now. I think a deeper consultation is probably indicated, because you've got a lot of moving pieces, and I think talking it through and working it through would be helpful. But I don't think we can do it all right here. But I think it was a good idea. No, I
don't even have any money to do anything extra right now.
Well, we do a free half-hour consult, and we can talk to you for a free half hour. We can get you started and sort of get some thoughts put together, because you deserve that. That's,
I just needed to speak up because this is real. Yeah.
It's very real. And it's a miserable place to be, and it's not fair to either you or to him that this thing is really intervened exactly when it did, because you can see the writing on the wall and it scares you a lot, and you're all by yourself doing it.
It does. I don't want him to die there.
No, and I think I get that part. And so the question is, what can we do and how could we do what could be done? And what do you really want to do? What's the most important to you? So that's a consult question. And it would be some back and forth stuff. So get up with us if you would.
How do I do that?
It's consult@teepasnow.com. If you do consult@teepasnow.com, someone named Carolyn will probably be the person who connects with you. Yeah.
Okay, at Teepa Snow. Okay, snow.com. Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Hey, Teepa.
Yeah, Matt.
I'm curious too, just to help on the therapy side, Karen, you may want to ask them what they think about trying to do a Part B service with them.
It actually was Part B.
Okay, so he was under Part B. He was off of the Part A side and then went on to the Part B side.
Well, no, it was because he was only in the hospital for 2 days in observation.
Oh.
And that was before this Corona thing where they've said, now you don't have to stay 3. Son of a gun. You can't win for losing. Okay. Yep. Okay. So get up with Carol, email, and then we'll connect you.
Okay.
We put links and
Glad you spoke
email
up.
address into our chat.
Yeah. All right. So it appears that we have overstayed our welcome.
I'm sure it's not overstay our welcome, but we are definitely 5 minutes over.
We are at time. I want to thank everybody who came, all the people who helped, and I just want us all to be together in spirit and in goodwill and lift each other up and hold each other dear. And thank you all every time you make a difference in somebody's life. So thank you.
Thank you, Teepa.
It matters.
I'm just going to share this as we go out. Our consulting that's available. If we haven't answered your question, you can get with us here. If you emailed me questions, we'll try to respond to you tonight or tomorrow. And you can always email us at webinars@teepasnow as well. I see we still have one hand raised. But thank you so much, everybody. Stay healthy.